Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here on short notice. I know many of you were here because of the press conference this morning, which is what we're here responding to. My name is Cedric Frazier. I'm a co-chair of our People of Color and Indigenous Caucus in the House, and I'm here along with my colleagues and co-chairs and vice chair, and also my colleagues from the Senate as well, and allies within our caucuses. So just to contextualize a little bit, what we've been seeing around the country is an attack on our immigrant and migrant communities. We've seen it at the federal level, and it's been pretty consistent that there are some people that they believe belong in this country and belong to have access to services that this great wealthy country provides for the folks that are here, and there are some people that they believe do not deserve that care and deserve those things. Well, we're here to say that we stand with those folks that need the most. We stand with the folks that are the most vulnerable. We've said this from the beginning of the session when we held out quorum. This is what we were here to protect. We were here to protect all of the gains that we had over the last 2 years, and we were here to ensure that those gains did not hit that we didn't lose those gains and harm our most vulnerable people. The deal that was made today, that was announced today, will do exactly that. We're talking about tens of thousands of individuals that will be taken off, that will lose access to health care at the end of this calendar year. What that means is we've got individuals that are currently receiving cancer treatments, that are currently receiving dialysis care. Those individuals at the end of the year will lose access to that care. That means we will lose some of those individuals. And although we protected the children, which is a very noble thing to do, those children will lose moms, dads, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, siblings. That is what we are faced here with today. That is what we are saying we cannot stand for. We cannot vote for that. We're not ready to accept that for our neighbors, for our friends, for our families. We all stand here saying we are not ready to accept that right now. And we will continue to work through how we can move to something different, but we are not ready to accept that. And this should be clear. And I want this to be clear, and I want everyone, you need to report this. We had a political party, the Republicans in this state, that were willing to shut this government down to extract things from people. They were not willing to give things to people, to take care of people, to take care of those that are most vulnerable. They were willing to harm those individuals, and they were willing to harm all of Minnesota to do that. That needs to be clear. I don't think it has been said at all, but that is what we were faced with. And I will say this before the questions come. Democrats, we have this problem. We care about people. We truly care about people. And we are willing to make sacrifices if it means causing at least harm. That is what you saw our leadership do. We're not willing to accept that, but that is what you saw our leadership do. They were not willing to harm millions of Minnesotans. That has never been the way that the DFL has operated. But the Republican Party, not only at the federal level, but at the state, they don't seem to have that same kind of care and human decency. And we need to call that out at every single step of the way. They were willing to throw our state government into chaos the exact same way that the government is being thrown into chaos at the federal level. And we still have not felt all the impacts of that yet. But our Republican Party here is in lockstep with the federal way of doing things. And we do not stand for that, but we also do not stand for this deal because we will not stand by and watch vulnerable people, our neighbors, our friends, our family members in our community be harmed. I'll stop there and I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Senator Elise Mann from Senate District 50. I want to just put an exclamation point on what you just heard, and that was that we had negotiations with a party who does not care about the well-being of people, with a party who was willing to throw the entire state of Minnesota in disarray, to shut down the government, and in return for not doing that, they wanted to take away health care from 20,000 people. That was their priority. Their goal was to take away health care from people. And under the guise of fiscal responsibility. There is no fiscal responsibility when you do this. When we take away people's health care, they end up in the emergency department. It costs more money for everyone in the community. It costs hospitals more money. It puts our healthcare system in disarray. It makes our healthcare system weaker. Of course, families fall into poverty. So there is no fiscal, there is no economic argument to be made when we take away people's health care. So what they did was purely cruel. It was cruelty dressed as fiscal responsibility. There is no other outcome for when you take away people's health care. And this, I will say this again, was their #1 priority. So what we have is a party who was willing to take away insulin from diabetics, inhalers from people with asthma, cancer treatment from people who just want a few more years with their children, all for political points, all for political gain, to say that we protected, essentially, homegrown Minnesotans. But all these other people who look different, who speak a different language, who have different customs, we do not care about them. We will not pay for them. We will not welcome them. And they can suffer, they can die, and we don't care. That's what happened today, and that's why we are here, because we are not going to let this go down. We are going to fight this till the very end. Every person who lives in Minnesota is a Minnesota resident. They are part of this economy. They contribute, they work, they raise their children, their kids go to school. They pay $220 million in taxes per year. That's right. And we're not going to let them sit, turn around, and die.
One Minnesota. Right.
One Minnesota.
Good afternoon. My name is Emilia Gonzalez-Avalos. I'm the executive director of Unidos Minnesota. We are a power organization that organizes for racial, social, and economic justice. And amongst our multiracial coalition, mixed status families is one of our biggest constituency that we are accountable for, and who was also leading this campaign since the pandemic. And today marks the beginning of a dangerous precedent that has been set. A line has been drawn in the sand that allowed a group of hardworking Minnesotans to be used as human shields. In this deal, protections to paid family and medical leave, earn sick and save time, projects for different districts came at a great cost. And that's the cost of the lives of undocumented essential workers. Again, these workers were deemed heroes during the pandemic and were granted this victory to ensure they can continue bringing their best to the state. To our elected champions in the House and the Senate, thank you for helping us bring attention to what happens next. This is not an issue that will magically go away at the end of session. A countdown has begun, and people that were receiving treatments for life-saving procedures now have, through the end of the year, to continue receiving this coverage. These are people that were paying premiums to Minnesota Care, people that are overemployed in essential sectors in our economy. This care was not and has never been free. To this, we say we will continue to show up for us and for our community. We hope earlier that the three bodies of government really helped as MVPs during this process. We were simply asking for solidarity so that the conditions that occurred during the pandemic were never repeated. Our neighbors without status continue to show up every day, without PPE, without protections, and without preventive medical care. To Speaker Demuth, the private insurance markets are not the answer. They were not the answer for regular Minnesotans, for citizens of this country, and they're also not the answer for undocumented people. If they had been, then these longtime Minnesotan taxpayers would have already been covered. Many make minimum wage, they work as contractors, and they're offered very, very little benefits. To Minnesotans, this is not who we are. We simply do not abandon our neighbor during the times of historical attacks in our community. To the mixed status families, we have a trajectory of doing very, very hard things in order to survive in order to belong, in order to make ends meet. This is a great task, but it is not greater than us. To the sons of daughters of undocumented parents who are worrying right now of what's going to happen with their family members, with their loved ones, this is a time. This is a time for your path to grace and show up in leadership. Join us. And lastly, to my beloved father, that modeled what courage and leadership looked like during the pandemic, during this campaign trail, to all those essential workers that showed time and time again in this Capitol, through our communities. This is not over until it's over. We deserve better treatment. We deserve long-term solutions. We deserve our humanity. We are not asking for it. We are reclaiming it. And this campaign is a symbol of that. Thank you again, everyone who is standing here in solidarity, and to every Minnesotan who is concerned about the state of affairs targeting mixed-status families. This is not just a battle in the federal government. This is a battle in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and in the state capitol. We invite you to join us. They're telling us that this is free healthcare that is being removed from other people, and we know that the healthcare system is already broken. So if there's any Minnesotan out there who doesn't have enough coverage because corporations keep looting resources from people, from working families, join us. If your coverage is ending because of federal cuts, join us. We can win a Minnesota public option. We can win the healthcare that we deserve, and we don't need to leave anybody out. We don't need to leave anybody behind. Join us.
We'll open up for a few questions.
It was your own party's leadership, of course, that made this deal with the Republicans. What was their dialogue like with you? Did you have any input on it?
I'll repeat. DFLers care about people. I think they made the political calculus that to do the least harm. We think this is major harm to tens of thousands of people, so we don't agree with that. But at the end of the day, when you have a party that doesn't care about whether we shut government down, that will lay people off, that will remove services for Minnesotans, that means things will not be taken care of that we need to make our state go and continue to be great. You have to make decisions. You have to make compromises. They made that decision, but again, it falls on the foundational thing that they care. We care about people.
You guys get the vote on no votes. Yeah, are you all no votes for sure? If you're here,
we are no votes on this provision.
So does this fail? We already know that the Republican Senate leader and perhaps his caucus is not on board. Sounds like this deal maybe is already unraveled. Are there not the votes for it?
Well, I think if for this provision in particular, if you don't have the votes, then you don't have a bill.
Do you know if the DFL lawmakers are going to vote no on this?
I know that the folks standing up here right now are going to vote no on this provision.
To battle this over the next 4 days, and I know we're kind of asking about the numbers here of no votes, but I mean, is it possible to keep this from passing?
I can't say what's going to happen today, but I can tell you we're here for the mere reason that we're going to continue to fight this.
I mean, does that maybe look like holding out, going to the floor session? Does that maybe look like?
I think we've been clear at this point that it means that we're not going to vote yes on this provision.
To be clear, Representative Frazier, are you talking about, I mean, this I think would be in the health budget. Are you guys focusing your attention to just that part of the budget, or other budget bills would you be willing to vote for?
Right now, we're focused specifically on this particular agreement.
So you're not going to hold up other budget bills?
We still have some conversations to have about strategy for the next 4 days, but right now we're focused on this specific provision.
You just met with the governor. What did you talk about? What were those conversations?
We shared exactly what we're sharing here.
What would it take for you to be a yes vote?
We need to find either that, or we need to find a way to make sure that we ensure that these individuals continue to get the care that they need.
What did the governor say to you?
I'm not going to share that.
Can you tell us where the money would come from this, in your perspective?
No, those are conversations we still need to have. We are a wealthy state.
Right now, it's already in budget. Yeah,
Well, you go ahead.
Yeah, so right now, the money is in the budget. We have the money for this program. It's there. And it's costing far less than what we projected it would cost.
Actually, it's 32% more than it was projected at the last count, and
No.
that's because
That's not true.
No.
It is. I have the
It's not. So they said it was going to cost $200 million over 4 years. They modeled that after an MCO capitated program. They said that 5,000 people would sign up in the first signing period. And they said that there was 40,000 undocumented people in Minnesota. About 6-7% of those would be eligible for this program, which would put the program at 27,000 to 28,000 people. Right now, 20,000 people have signed up. Yes, they signed up faster, but still well within the estimate of DHS. We are now doing a fee-for-service program, not a capitated program. The capitated program said it was going to cost $7,000 per person. That's not what's happening. So far, the program has cost less than $4 million. It is costing less than what was projected. If we double our numbers, we'll still be at less than what was projected at the $200 million mark.
projected less than 3 million for this point, and it's at 3.9.
You want me to start over? Yeah, so again, because the sign-up has been faster, which just shows you the need that's out there of people not getting the care that they need. But all the numbers are still well within and well below the projected cost at the 4-year mark.
How many of the 20,000 are adults versus children? Do we know that?
It's about 17,000 adults.
I have a question for Amelia. You mentioned how private insurance is not a viable alternative. Would you be able to speak to, if you have numbers, but if not, would you just be able to speak to how many undocumented immigrants are on Minnesota Care?
So there were a lot of questions there. I'll answer the question about market products. We have a crisis in the country from working families, the working poor, that are in this threshold between eligibility and or affording a private market product. In this case, these are folks that, other than their status, they are eligible due to income, and there's a criteria of documentation that they need to submit to be able to prove that they are working poor. What I mean to say is that in the country we have a medical system problem in which working families have to choose between paying their private market products or pay their daily activities, pay their mortgage, pay their rent, be able to afford their lives. And this community is not an exception. So what we know about the failures of the medical healthcare system is transferable to this community. We live here. We have been living here for a long time, mixed status families. We choose Minnesota home for different reasons, and predominantly community networks. But overall, that's what I can say about that.
We'll take one.
Elise said how many people are on.
So there are about 20,000 people enrolled in the program. Of those, about 3,000 are minors or children under 21.
So in California, which also has a program like this, Governor Newsom has proposed allowing people who are already enrolled to stay on with small premiums. I know some Minnesota Care folks already pay premiums, but freezing future enrollment and continuing to protect, kids on the program for all. Is that something that you'd be open to as a outcome here?
I'm aware of the Newsom plan. That is not what we're thinking. We want to make sure we keep people, allow folks to continue to have access with health care. We want people to continue to have access now and into the future. Thank you all.
Thank you all.